What's going on, everybody? It's Dan here, back with another Moonshine talking. Hope everyone's having a good one. I'm doing all right. Can't complain. It's Tuesday night right now, currently, as I'm recording this. I don't normally work on, or I don't usually have the night off on Tuesdays, but one of my coworkers needed a night off last week, so I worked for her, and that leads me to having a Tuesday off, which is kind of cool. I pretty much, I honestly, I caught up on sleep. I pretty much slept most of the day and then did some stuff that need to get done and was going to go record shopping, but the place I was going to go to was closed. So instead, I just came home, of course, worked out. Give you an update on my shoulder. I went to rehab the first time. They gave me a program to work on. I've been trying to stay religious about that. I think I missed one morning, but I ended up making it up that night. The program itself it's not too bad. It's a lot of band work, activating a bunch of muscles that I haven't normally worked, and uh, generally focusing on trying to involve the lower trap muscles and below the scapula, below the shoulder blades, and trying to like maintain proper posture and using some of the smaller muscles that you normally wouldn't use where, if you typically you're a gym rat or, meathead kind of person like I am, you tend to just kind of like force the weights through sometimes. And sometimes you can get caught up in that game of letting your ego take over and not really focusing. Like I always try to tell people it's about the work, not the weight. But like anybody else, I tend to forget that sometimes. That's sometimes you get sloppy form, and then that's when injuries occur. You try doing too much weight or whatever the case might be. So, long story short, that's basically what they're focusing on, and they're trying to get me to do that. Doing some workout exercises that are just brutal. Like I don't have kettlebells, so they have me doing it with dumbbells, but I have to walk around with a dumbbell for 90 seconds and just walk up and down, walk up and down, walk up and down. And by you get about a minute into that and your shoulder's on fire. I mean, it's brutal. But I feel like it's working. I feel like there's certain things that I'm doing where the first time I did it, it was difficult, at some points painful. Now I'm able to do it with a little less pain. So I think, knock on wood, it's working. We'll see. I've got 4 more weeks of this, so we'll see how it goes. I got to go in on Thursday to go see them, and they're gonna do a follow up with me. Actually, there's another one they got me doing that's kind of brutal. I have to lay on a foam roller and do snow angels, and you think to yourself, that's nothing. But if you get a jacked up shoulder, man, that's a rough one. That one kind of is a pain in the ass. But whatever's clever, whatever gets me back to I would say in my case 85% because I'm never going to be fully 100. I'm just too banged up from wrestling and all the other crap that I do. And otherwise, I'll tell you a funny story, and this will kind of lead into what I'm doing. So I'm at work last week, and I get a package in the mail. I show up and I get a package in the mail, and I open it because it's obviously a CD. I don't recognize the address, and then I look, and it's this here. It's Candlemass, King of the Grey Islands, which is very cool. This is I don't have this. It's a Robert Lowe era Candlemass, which is very cool. I don't have any of that stuff. Robert Lowe, if you're not familiar, is the vocalist for Solitude Aeternus, which is a tremendous doom metal band from Texas. They're legendary. If you're not familiar with them, go check them out. They're a phenomenal band. Anything they've done is top notch. I'd recommend all of it. But if you want to start with something, I'd say probably Through the Darkest Hour is a really good one to start with. But I didn't have any of this stuff, and I'm just thinking, and it didn't have a name on it or anything like that. It was coming from the friggin' Dutch Caribbean, so I had no idea where it came from. So in my mind, I'm kind of like freaking out a little bit. My imagination's running wild because I didn't order it, I didn't buy it. This wasn't like the friggin' Hell's Headbangers video I did, where I did the unboxing and I had a dismember vinyl in there, and apparently I bought it without realizing it. It wasn't that situation. It wasn't like I got it, and it was just so I didn't know what was going on. Then I'm thinking, like, is this one of those brushing scams I hear about online? And if it is, it would be so oddly specific to me. Because why would you send anybody? You'd send me, of all people, you're trying to scam me, and you're sending me friggin' Candlemass CDs. So it was very odd, and nobody seemed to know where it came from. So fast forward a few days, I'm talking to one of my coworkers because I just recently I got a Blu-ray copy of The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I got talking to her, and I told her about it. I said, "Yeah, I picked it up off of eBay," and this triggered something in her brain. So as it turned out, the Candlemass CD was a Christmas gift that she forgot that she bought for me because it had taken so long to get here. So the fact that I said eBay, it triggered something in her brain. It reminded her, and she's, "Oh, did you get that CD?" I said, "What CD?" "Oh, the CD I got you." I said, "Well, what was it?" And then she says, "Oh," I said, "Was it a Candlemass CD?" And she tell, "Yeah, yeah, that was it." And then we had a good laugh about it. So it was pretty funny. But just like I said, it always makes me laugh because you think that, like, I think the worst sometimes, and it turns out to be nothing. And I always have to remind myself that, it's not, don't let your imagination run wild with stuff because usually there's a simple explanation to most things. But anyhow, so leading into that kind of ties into why I'm here today. I got this album that I'm going to review, and when I got it, it was hilarious because the place I got it from, they sent in they sent it with a piece of a page from a Bible, which I thought was odd because it's like, well, first of all, a page of anything, one slip of paper isn't going to do much as far as packaging or securing or anything. Not that it needed; it was a very small box, but I just found it weird, just because if it was like one of those, like, well, what's going on here? Are you trying to proselytize to me, or are you trying to be blasphemous? And this was your way of showing it, like sticking it to the man and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't know, and I didn't care. I just thought it was interesting. But to go and get into that, I am going to review the album by the band Necromaniac. This is a London, UK band. They formed in 2011. This is, I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, Sciomancy, Malediction, and Rites Abominable. This came out on the 13th of January this month, probably about, what is it, 27th, a couple weeks ago. It came out on Invictus Productions. They also are collaboratively releasing it with the AJNA Offensive, which is where I got it from. It's in Oregon, Portland, I believe. I almost said Oregon, but I was mixing up Portland and Oregon. But yeah, and this is a good one. This they've been around since 2011. They're from London. They put out a couple things, but this is their first full length release, if my memory serves correctly. They've had a couple of band members mixed in and out throughout the years, but currently, as it stands, it's a four-piece. They are a mix of black and death metal with thrash, with like a thrash core. I would say sonically, this is a band that, even though it's definitely black metal with elements of death metal, it's definitely has its roots firmly in thrash metal. You can hear lots of like old Slayer. You can hear mixes of like Immortal, Dissection, and Midnight and stuff like that. So it's very cool. There's even riffs that I'll mention that they sound very similar to Bleeding era Cannibal Corpse. Very cool stuff. But the members themselves, it's C. Howler is the vocalist. He also plays the Tibetan singing bowl, which I had no idea what that was. Sadistic Fornicator, he's a guitar player. He's the probably the most tenured member of the band. He also does synths, effects, and choir. The one that's their bass player. He also does choir, and he plays a bunch of horns. He plays like French horn and trumpet and trombone on the album. And then V Pestilencia does drums and synths as well. A lot of the songs on here they close out with outros, with like organ outros with effects mixed in. There's little bits and pieces of effects interspersed throughout various songs. They heavily use a gong at the end of a lot of different songs on here, which is phenomenal. I love the use of a gong in a song. It just really kind of gives it like that majestic oomph at the end of any song. It just kind of gives it a little bit more gravitas and weight, for lack of a better way of describing it. But yeah, it was recorded in two spots at Studio One in Dublin, in Ireland, and it was also in Morbid Sound Studios in London. The album art that you're looking at, I'll actually show the picture here. It was a piece done by Johann Bauer in 1685, which I can't say I'm a huge art guy, so I don't really know who that is. But very killer stuff, very eerie and very I don't know. It's just it's morbid. The band itself actually refers to itself as morbid metal. I should point that out. So they don't necessarily consider themselves black but they are. But they consider themselves morbid metal. The album itself is 9 songs and 49 minutes long, and it's a good one. I mean, like I said, it's a mix of black metal, death, with its roots firmly in thrash. Uh, Vocally, C. Howler has these times where he sounds possessed. He sounds crazed, little hints of like ghoulish grave robbery, and everything throughout the album. It just sounds like like the whole thing based on the title. A lot of, like lyrically, it's very much in like in ancient rites and resurrections and like the voids between the living and the dead and trying to stuff like that. Like I think Sciomancy, I had to look that up, and it's something where you it's some sort of channeling the dead or something like that, or being able to look at shadows and communicate with the dead or something like that. So that's kind of like thematically what we're looking at here. But yeah, with his vocals, it sounds like the entire time like he's performing ancient rites with the purpose of raising the dead, whether they're good or evil spirits. I don't think it really matters. It's very good. The bass, I would say the one. He probably between the vocals and bass. These are the elements of the band that really, for me, steal the show. I mean, He's got these creepy, foreboding bass lines throughout. They almost seem very jazz influenced, but they're just very tasteful. I'll probably use that word a couple more times, but they just really like it's almost like the dude's carpet. It just ties everything together, and it's very good. It's not often that you really hear a lot of bands or songs where the bass kind of like leads the dance, but that's a lot of what you get on this album with the bass playing that the one does on this album. It's top notch. It's very well done. I applaud him, tip my hat, and all that sort of good stuff. The drumming is again tasteful. Lots of discriminating drum fills. Lots of straight up blasting beats at various points. They V Pestilencia leaves these openings to where the guitar and the bass can kind of do their thing, and just it's really again very well done. They put a lot of time and effort, you can tell, into the performance on this album, on the songs and crafting them and all that sort of thing. They did a great job. And guitar wise, the riffs are gritty and tight. Like I said, there's elements that you can hear of like Cannibal Corpse or Immortal, Dissection. You hear little bits and pieces of Midnight there, especially with some of the riffs, like particularly on the second track of the album, which is called Demon Mantia. There's a riff midway through the song that's just killer. Really should check it out. It starts out with an instrumental opener to open the album. It's called Caput Draconis, which means the head of the dragon. The album ends with Cauda Draconis, if I pronounce that right. Wonderful, but that means the tail of the dragon. I guess I'll go into that song, Necromancis. That's a very grand, ambitious song. it's about 10 minutes long, and it does not feel like that in the slightest. It ebbs and it flows, and it comes across like a war cry throughout the entire thing. And it's just a very, very good song. Definitely check it out. Uh, Track 4, Calling Forth the Shade, that's a phenomenal song. That's like when I talk about Sea Howler trying to raise the dead, this one comes across, it's got a very, very creepy bass line throughout, and it just builds and it builds and it builds to where he's just screaming and like howling into the abyss. And then once he got what he wanted out of it, he starts screaming, "Rise, arise!" And it's awesome. And you almost wonder like once whatever starts unearthing, he's just cackling like a lunatic. It's just killer stuff, very top notch stuff. I enjoyed it tremendously. Great is The Thirst of the Restless Dead. That's track 5. Very good. I would say, again, this is one of those ones where the bass really ties the song together. Track 6 is Teraphim, Skull Sorcery. That's the one, it's got a very Cannibal Corpse like, almost like a pickaxe murder riff to start off with. Then it flies into this feral rhythm, just straight up black metal, like, traditional black metal that most people would be familiar with a black metal song. Has almost these Middle Easterny shapes in the middle of the song with the guitar riffs. And then it ends with a creepy synth outro, which is very good. It kind of lends this dreamscape to the entire song. There's a short interlude in track 7. It's called The Conjuration of Saint Cyprian. That was an interesting dude. I had to go look that up and see what he was all about. Very, very much a very militant priest way back in the day, back in the days of the Roman Empire. He got killed for his beliefs, got beheaded. Very, very interesting cat. Whatever your thoughts are on religion, I find stuff like that interesting. So just reading up on that, I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. History's cool, kids. But anyhow, finally, Swedenborg Skull. That's probably my favorite song on the entire album. It's just got these slick, blistering riffs and just it's snarling vocals. They're just ravenous, and it's just the whole album is phenomenal. It's again, it's one of my favorite words to describe stuff. But it's a very, very well done album. They obviously put a lot of time and effort into it. Again, they've been around for a while, but they haven't put a lot of stuff out. But this is a banger. Not to sound like a millennial or not my age bracket, but yeah, this is a good one. Again, I've always said banger is our word. We're headbangers, so we're allowed to say that. Um, but yeah, I would highly recommend this. If you haven't checked this out, if you haven't heard of this band before, definitely give this a listen. You can pick this up at the AJNA Offensive. You can go through Invictus Productions and get it. I'm sure you probably get it other places eventually or at this point, but I picked it up through the AJNA Offensive. Got it pretty quickly. Again, it came equipped with Bible scripture, but it's just a very good album. I would say if you're a fan of, again, same band like Midnight, you like Blackened Thrash. That's a little bit of Midnight, a little bit of Cannibal Corpse, Immortal thrown in there. More traditional black metal. This is an album for you. I would highly recommend it, fellas. You get 2 thumbs up. I'm not going to give you this the stank face meter, but you would definitely be off the charts. This one's an early contender as far as best albums of the year, in my opinion. We'll have to see how it stacks up throughout the year because, these things change and they ebb and flow. But this is a really, really good release. Definitely a good one to start out the year. And yeah, we've had some good ones thus far. Going forward, I got a couple other things that I want to review, but I don't have copies of them, so I try. And some of the stuff I don't know if I want to go out and just purchase it digitally and then wait for it to come out on because a lot of the stuff is coming from overseas, and it gets expensive to buy some of the stuff from overseas. But there's a lot of good stuff coming out. Like there was a Goat Lord Corp, which is a bunch of members from Seth. They just put a great album out. It was called. Let me tell you real quick. I got notes. We have notes. We have notes. But it was yeah, Temple of Serpent Horrors. It came out on Nomad Snake Pit Productions. That was a really good one. I've listened to that a bunch of times. Of course, Pentagram, their new album's coming out. I don't have a copy of it yet, but I'm gonna try and get one. I definitely am gonna review it. I just don't know when I'm gonna do that. Uh, a band called Nakash. They got an album coming out on Signal Rex Friday, the 31st. A band called Scruta. They have one. Gods of War is putting out. Another band, Garoda. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce what their album title is, both on Gods of War. Those sounded, the little bits and pieces I've heard have sounded pretty good. And there's a couple other things. The Honorophagus, Revelations from the Void, that came out on Personal Records a couple weeks ago. I know a few people did reviews on it. That one's a killer Doom album, a little more on the Death Doomy side, but definitely firmly in the Doom category. That one was really good. A lot of the songs are very long and they might turn off some people, but don't let that do it. Don't let that do it to you. You know, it's a great release. I was gonna review it, but I didn't get a copy of it, and by the time I finally got around to start doing like this, it's already been a few weeks, and a bunch of people have already talked about it. But I just mentioned it here on the tail end of this thing. Yeah, that was a good one. And there's other stuff that's come out, but yeah, those are probably the ones that are the largest on my radar. I know Revenge has one coming out on Seasons of Mist. I know a lot of people are anticipating that. I'm not really familiar with Revenge. I'm not a huge war metal guy. I'm kind of like dipping my pinky toe into it a little bit, but not too heavily. But I know a lot of people are anticipating that. But hey, on the also on the tail end here, check it out. I got in my Sword and Sorcery by the Sumerian came in today with the An Age Undreamed Of CD. That just came in today. Got sent to me by David from the band. And I also got in my copy of Blood Cult, We're Gonna Take Your Soul. As you all know, I just did reviews on each of these. And yeah, man, those haven't even unwrapped them yet. And then the guys in the Sumerian, they gave me a couple patches and a pin, which is very cool. They sent me a nice note thanking me for supporting the band, which, hey, it's my pleasure. You guys rule. You're very good. But yeah, so that's that. In conclusion, yeah, go check out this album by Necromaniac, Sciomancy, Malediction, and Rites Abominable. It's a tremendous album. Uh, Again, can get on Invictus Productions, the AJNA Offensive. Both have websites. I'll put links in the description box. And yeah, man, that's what I got for you. I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope you're enjoying the channel, enjoying the videos. You know, I enjoy making them. And yeah, as always, everybody stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always tuck your chin upon impact. Don't forget to breathe. Everyone have a good one. Uh, Friday is the deadline of my year anniversary giveaway, but I think pretty much nobody really responded to it other than one person. So I think I pretty much have a good idea of who's going to win what. And it's going to be like one tier of the giveaway contest groupings that I had. So I'm going to reach out to that person and get their information so I can send it out. But yeah, so that'd be a cool one. But I'm not going to do a whole video on that. You know, I was kind of in my mind's eye, I was anticipating having a bunch of people respond and be interested, and then pulling out the freaking jar and putting names in it. But that's not what happened. So one person responded, so they'll get a prize for doing that. And yeah, so that'll be fun. And then other than that, there's some shows coming up, but one I'm gonna miss. Uh, Decapitated and Incantation are gonna be here on Tuesday. I really wanted to go see that, but I just lost track of the time and the dates and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not gonna be able to go see that. Uh, I'm gonna try like hell on Friday to go see Deicide and Nasty Savage are playing together. They got Venom Inc. with them, Narcotic Wasteland. There's one or two other bands that are also playing on that show, which are really good. But it's a couple hours away from me. So driving 2 hours is kind of like a pain in the ass, but I'm going to try to will myself up, kind of pump myself up to go do it and just not being a little bitch and just go ahead and do it and go see them. But if I don't go, feel free. You can call me a wimp or whatever. That's fine. I probably deserve it. But yeah, man, so I'm just babbling at this point. As always, everyone, have a good one. Take it easy. I'll see you on the next video. Later.